on this story. Let's now shift our focus to another important story, and this is about a statement that has been made by India's RBI governor. In fact, the ongoing tensions in West Asia are now triggering concerns over a possible fuel price hike in India. RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra has warned that if the crisis in West Asia persists for some more time, the government may eventually have to raise the fuel prices. He's also indicated that disruptions linked to the Strait of Hormuz are already pushing up global energy prices and are increasing pressure on energy import-dependent countries like India. In a way, many are seeing his statement as a hint that finally, the government is going to bite the bullet very, very soon. The government has allowed OMCs to absorb the price pressure, but it can't really sustain beyond a point. Listen into what exactly he said.
India is highly dependent on imports of energy, fertilizers. 1/5 of our imports are from the Middle East. 1/6 of our exports are to the region. We get about 40% remittances from there, 40% fertilizers, 60% gas. So we are highly, connected to this, to the region, which is right now in a crisis, and the supply chain disruptions, therefore, are I would say beginning to impact us. Of course, the price channel has already come into play. And here again, while, we have this toolkit, the framework, obviously, in such times, it's not sufficient. While, we cannot abandon it because it's important, for anchoring expectations, but at the same time, we do recognize that it's not sufficient, and the fiscal coordination is very, very important, especially if if the supply shock is as big as it is. So in India, the government has now, as of now, only marginally allowed the higher prices of crude.
Now, all of this is happening because of rise in crude oil prices. Now, if crude oil prices, in fact, viewers, rise by $10 per barrel, then our import bill can actually rise by $13 to $15 billion. The retail inflation can surge by 50 to 60 basis points. This is an estimate by an agency for the current financial year. Apart from this, if you look at other macroeconomic indicators, then there can be pressure on those as well. Our current account deficit can widen by 35 to 40 basis points for the current financial year. As a result, this will have an overall impact on our GDP growth as well. It can reduce our GDP by 0.5% if crude oil prices rise by $10 per barrel. And this is the reason why the government is taking so many measures to somehow, protect the Indian economy, Indian macros. Now, look at how other countries have already increased their petrol prices since the war began on 28th of February. UK has increased their petrol prices by 22%, Hong Kong by 25%, Germany by 27%, Netherlands by 28%, Italy by 30%, Spain by 34%, and Japan by 30 to 35%. But India so far has not increased the petrol or diesel prices for consumers. Is it now time for the government to bite the bullet? Now, that's the question that many are asking. And a big hint, of course, has come in from the RBI governor himself, who has indicated that if the conflict, if the tensions persist for some more time, the government will have to pass on the burden to consumers. It is just a matter of time. Apart from this, viewers, the centre has also shut the door on sugar exports, prioritizing domestic availability amid global uncertainty and supply concerns. The government has imposed a ban on sugar exports till 30th September 2026, with the restrictions coming into force immediately. Under the revised export policy, shipments of raw, white and refined sugar have been prohibited in a move aimed at protecting the domestic stock and stabilizing local supply. So this is another important update that has come in today. And there are certain exemptions as well that have been allowed under specific quota arrangement. That includes exports to the European Union and the United States of America. The shipments that are already in the export pipeline, on them as well, the exemptions are going to apply. And if there's going to be an emergency requirement, so if there is a need for government-to-government sugar export due to food supply concerns in the world, then in that case as well, the government will give a go-ahead. So there are certain exceptions, certain exemptions that exist as far as this particular move by the government is concerned. The idea is basically to help, India deal with the sugar stock. Right now, there is ample availability of sugar stock in the country, so there is no concern. And that is the reason why it is being seen as a precautionary measure amid the ongoing crisis that we are witnessing. And the idea is to prioritize domestic demand. There is no shortage of sugar as of now, but the idea is to just focus more on domestic demand first and then look at what's happening around the world. The idea is to keep prices under control. Apart from that, let's also tell you what really changes. Till now, sugar exports were in the restricted category. Now they are completely prohibited. So earlier, sugar exports were in the restricted category, but now they are completely prohibited. But of course, there are certain exceptions as well, like I mentioned just now. Joining us on the broadcast right now is Sharat Kohli, who is an economist. Good morning. Thank you for speaking with us here on Times Now. What do you make of this fresh move by the government on sugar specifically?
Well, I think, good morning, Hina, to you and the viewers. I think government has very rightly put this. These are not austerity measures. These are strategic prudence measures. So in the times which are extraordinary, some extraordinary measures are required undoubtedly. And that's what is happening because sugar is in demand in the country at a very, very large scale. And we are heading, the next 4 to 5 months, we'll have Diwali and other things approaching. So sugar consumption goes up. And it is likely to fuel inflation because sugar is practically used in every household. So in anticipation that sugar prices may go up, I think these export restrictions have been put in place. You will find a lot of these measures coming in the days to come because crude oil prices across the world are fueling inflation. And India is no exception, as the Prime Minister himself has said. So I think it's just a matter of time before we start witnessing petrol stations having revised prices, as has been indicated by RBI Governor, has been indicated by the Petroleum Minister, indirectly, not directly. We cannot keep them on hold forever because if 1,000 crores per day is the loss being suffered by OMCs on a daily basis, well, you can't imagine this to be borne forever. So I think people have to be prepared. And, in the times of war, every person plays a role as a soldier. In some way or the other. And I think a small contribution by each household will save the country from a situation which Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh are in right now. They've completely drained out of their forest reserve. And all the prime ministerial appeals were also directed towards saving the precious foreign exchange reserve, which are at the moment at $700 billion. Good enough in normal time, but they can easily run out very soon in bad time.
All right. We leave it there. Sharat Kohli, appreciate you joining us here on Times Now and sharing with us your perspective.